Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to Her Money and Investing Show with yours truly, Jessica Perrone, founder of Her Financial IQ, where we are making money and investing concepts fun and approachable. For more information on my course offerings, please visit HerFinIQ.com. So here at Her Financial IQ, we have an amazingly supportive community of women. So as you come in, introduce yourself, let us know where you're tuning in from, whether it's live or a recording, and feel free to ask questions during the broadcast. Even if you're watching this via recording, put in a question and I will do my very best to make sure it is answered as well. So with these questions, I do the best I can to weave them into the conversation. So definitely ask the questions in the chat. I also want to know how I and the guests are doing, and if there are any personal finance or investing topics that you would like to hear more about. So today's topics are 529 college savings plans. And as I was thinking about this topic, I was thinking about my first real corporate job outside of college. And what I noticed when I was doing that was I had an amazing mentor at my first job. And I'll never forget my first paycheck. In my family, the oldest of 8 children, there was no conversations about money. So I got my first paycheck and he came up to me and he said, "So Jessica, what are you doing with that paycheck?" And I'm like, I'm paying off credit card debt. I'm paying off student loans. I'm paying for my rent. And he's like, no. How much are you contributing towards your 401k and your employee stock purchase plan? I'm like, nothing. And he's like, "What are you talking about? You need to save for your future." And I'm like, okay. So I don't remember how much I put aside, but if he wouldn't have taken me aside and said, "Hey, these are something important that you want to do for the future," I probably wouldn't have done it because I had no knowledge about these types of accounts and the different benefits that a company gives to its employees. Was clueless, right? As a lot of people are, right? A lot of people are. So I really want to say that what, to my amazement, was I didn't put together the connection that my 401k and my employee stock purchase plan were invested in the market. I have no idea what I thought they were invested in or even understood what the concept of investing was. It wasn't until, and I really wish I would have known, because at around the same time, all of my male colleagues were talking about their brokers and their broker tips and how they're making so much money off these broker tips. And I wanted to get involved too. And that was actually my first experience with penny stocks, which was a disaster. But, I really wish someone would have made the connection that investing, if I really wanted to invest more in the markets, all I really needed to do was up my contribution to my 401k or up my contribution to my employee stock purchase plan. And then I could have been more invested in the market. So I hope that with this story, you can sort of make that connection of your individual retirement accounts and being invested. Yes, it may be in different asset classes depending on your risk tolerance, but for the most part, you are invested in the markets. And there is a similarity with a 529. A 529 college savings account is also a wrapper. It is like your cereal, right? You have your organic you have your organic raisin bran, and you have this raisin bran, and you have this raisin cereal over here. Sometimes, especially with generics, it can be the same thing. It just has different wrappers, right? And that's kind of the way you can look at these types of sort of investing accounts, right? They are giving you tax advantages so that you can be invested in the markets or invest these savings towards whatever life stage it is, whether it's retirement, whether it's college, in the markets. So before I go on, we have someone here that knows a lot more than I do about 529s. And I'm so excited that she is here with me today. So I am so excited to invite and introduce Lisa Crosta. She is a certified financial planner professional, a CFP, as well as a certified public accountant, CPA. And she is also the director of wealth management at BPP Wealth Solutions, where she helps her clients better understand their financial picture so they can achieve their dreams. And I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Me, Jessica.
Oh, and I hear that you're kind of a rock star. I hear that you manage money for some really, really wealthy clients. That's amazing.
It's fun. I said, but it's amazing. No matter how much money clients have, they all have questions, and surprising questions that you think maybe everybody's figured it all out. But it's really fun to answer questions for clients of all different levels. And even with a lot of money, people still come to you and say, should I get that mortgage? How should I borrow money for this? Or how should I take my money out when I'm ready to use it? So the education part and the conversation with the clients is my favorite part. I love that part.
So do any of them ask about college savings?
Yeah, because everybody wants their kids to go to a great school, and they want to do it tax efficiently if they can do it. So I'd say the vast majority of our clients use 529s. And then they have questions on how to get the money out. They put it in, they're not quite sure what they're doing with it. So yeah, we have questions about it all the time. And I have college age children, so I'm in the thick of it. It's not just clients, it's friends. We're all trying to use, that money that we've been saving, and trying to do it a smart way. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, okay. So I guess that kind of leads into, what is a 529?
Right, exactly.
For people that are they know nothing, right?
Right.
I kind of prefaced it in my intro, but what is a 529?
So it's a way to save for college. It's an investment vehicle. Like you said, it's a wrapper. The investments sit in there and they grow tax deferred. So that means every year you do not get any kind of tax statement from them that you have to put on your tax return and pay taxes on. So it grows tax deferred, which enables it to grow bigger. And then if you take the money out for qualified expenses, which we'll get to, Jessica, then it comes out tax free. So you never pay taxes on it. So if you put in 10,000 and by the time you use it, it's worth 30,000, there's no tax liability on that gain. So that 30,000 comes out, you use it according to the rules, you don't pay taxes on it. And that's why people use it. Yeah.
Really? Okay. And so what's in there?
So it's a wrapper, like you said. These accounts are invested in mutual funds. And there are over 50 529 plans out there. They're sponsored by states. And we'll get back to that. But so there's all these different plans. You pick one, you go into it, you put your money in, and then you have to choose where to put the money. So they're mutual funds in there. It looks a lot like a 401k. Like you said, Jessica, you open it up and you're like, oh, there's all these choices. Now, one way the 529s make it a little bit easier is they have plans that'll have a date in them. So it'll say target date or something date, and it'll say 2040. What's that mean? So if your child is due to start college in 2040, that's the plan you pick. And the reason is that the people managing it know that 2040 is 17 years away.
Yeah.
So we can be pretty aggressive now, and they'll do it. And as you get closer and closer to 2040, that investment will get a little bit more conservative because it's getting closer to your date of when you're going to start using the money.
Okay.
But when you choose one of these date ones, they'll do it for you. You don't have to every year go, how do I change it? They will do it for you. So it's really a smart way to do it if you don't do this every day. And all the state plans that you can pick from will give these date funds to choose.
Oh, okay. So the date fund is like managed, right? So
Yes.
for people that don't understand, so different types of assets have different types of risk associated with it and riskiness. So the riskier the asset that you are in, right? Typically, the higher the return and the
Mm-hmm.
reward. So
Right.
if you have a longer outlook that before college. So say you are investing as a bitty baby, right? As soon as that baby gets that social security number, if you start investing then, you can technically be in more risky assets because it's going to be in there for a longer term, right?
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then, for example, for someone that is closer to taking those monies out, right? We want to be in sort of more conservative. So assets that aren't as risky. So what would be an example of something that isn't as risky?
Like a bond.
Oh,
so you will see any of the fixed income or any of the bonds, you will watch, if you have an account for a long time, you'll see it'll have a little bit less in stocks and a little bit more in bonds as it gets closer to the years you're going to use it. And so that's how they'll do it for you.
Now, I even saw when I was looking at Vanguard because I was kind of looking at the different options that were in there for various types of plans. Because, like you said, they have the term plans, but they also have all these plans within the account that you can choose from. So there's the aggressive plan and the conservative plan. And I mean, there's even like ESG in there. So if you wanted to, so I was like, oh, these are some really neat options that you can invest the monies in as well. So
and if you want more comfortable, you can choose the aggressive, and maybe you do that for the first 10 years, and then maybe you move it to the moderate as you get closer. But those are the ones you got to keep your eyes on more. So it depends how comfortable you are making those changes.
Yes. And so for example, you're absolutely right, because, what's nice about the target date portfolios is that they're just doing it for you.
Yeah. And I have to say, in my experience, people tend to set it and forget it. Yes. I mean, I just talked to someone the other day who has had their 401k in a money market for 8 years. So that's the most conservative investment for anyone who doesn't know what a money market is. That is the most conservative investment. And a 401k usually, if you're far from retirement, shouldn't be in a real conservative investment. So it's very easy to forget about these things. So you're not going to do it every year, it makes sense to pick those ones that'll adjust for you.
And what's interesting is that I was looking at the Vanguard offerings because I was thinking about, being in cash and, with the high yields currently on, high yield savings accounts, et cetera. I was looking to see if they might have like almost a cash equivalent option. Mm-hmm. And they do have a money market option in there as well. And it was yielding right around 2%, it looked like.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So to help people figure out how to start, right? We said we
right. Oh my gosh, we got sidetracked. We went down a rabbit hole.
And I just wanted to make sure people know where to go, right? To start.
Absolutely.
So you can buy a 529 through an advisor like myself, but many of our clients buy them directly. I bought mine years ago directly for my kids. And the really great place to start, there's a website called savingforcollege.com. It's not affiliated with any company, any mutual fund company, any state. It might even be a nonprofit. I'm not sure, but it's a vast treasure trove of resource. There's articles about all the different state plans, and there's rankings of all the state plans. So I was telling Jessica, how do you begin? I mean, the first question you start is, does your state offer a plan? And it'll show you that right on your site. We're in New Jersey. New Jersey does have some plans. And does your state offer a tax deduction to put money into that plan? So there's about 30 states that on your state tax return, if you put $5,000 into a 529, they let you take $5,000 off your taxable income and not pay tax on that $5,000 that you put into the 529 plan. Every state has a different rule. So we're not going to do all 50 rules. So we'll be here till tomorrow. But that's where you start. That's how you narrow down this giant universe of 529s. Does your state offer a tax deduction? And does your state offer a plan? And Savings for College will help you look at your state's plan and look at the rules. Some states, I believe there's about 8. I know Pennsylvania's one, and we're not far from PA, so I'll say it, lets you get a deduction in Pennsylvania, but you can pick any plan. That's unusual. In New York, I believe you only get the deduction if you pick the New York plan. So this will help you narrow the playing field a little bit. New Jersey, because that's where we are, actually in 2020 now allows a tax deduction for doing a plan. They just started it in the last year. But there's some income limits, so not everybody gets it. So you do have to do a little bit of research to see what what makes sense for you.
So when you say a plan, do you mean an out-of-state plan or just a plan in general, like a New Jersey plan?
New Jersey only allows it for New Jersey.
Okay.
And just, I don't want to let the tax completely dictate things, because you want to make sure the plan is good too. So if your tax deduction saves you $500, you don't want to save $500 and spend too much money on an expensive plan. So the website will help you do a little bit of the research to pick the plan. When I was telling Jessica, when I have 3 children, so when I did it, I picked 3 different states. At the time, New Jersey didn't have a deduction. So I picked 3 different ones, and they've all performed fine. But that site is a good place to start to figure out where to go.
Well, what's interesting is that my now ex-husband, he was really great about the 529. He contributed to it religiously, but he chose the New York plan because he wanted to manage it more himself. So that was why he chose the New York plan, because he was able to have a little bit more control. He's not the set it and forget it type, right?
Yeah. But most of them allow you to choose individual funds as well. I did that. I chose all individual funds and whatever. But yeah, there's a lot out there, but start with your state, start with what's there. And it's very clear to see, where to put it. And the most important thing of anything is to open it and systematically invest. Yeah. Because that is more important than any other decision you make. Those you can do a lump sum in, or you can do an automatic contribution like it was a 401k. So you can have money going every month into, I do that with my kids. I have, they're older now, but like $100, $200 every month going into their plans. And it's that, by the old thing of pay yourself first, at the start of the month, send in your 100, 200, 500, whatever you're sending in, and it comes out of your bank account, and you can't spend it if it's not there.
Yeah, I love that. I love that strategy. Yeah. And so, but okay, so we talked about, let me just make sure I'm understanding this correctly. So if you are in, for example, your state, whatever state, we have people from all over the US that watch the show, you do not have to choose a 529 from your state.
Correct.
Okay. You do have the option after you do your research to choose a 529 from another state.
Correct.
And you can, and you don't have to go through a financial advisor either, right?
No, you don't.
You don't?
No, you don't. They're less expensive to not go through a financial advisor. So, a lot of our clients do it direct. A lot of our, we can help them with it, but it's very simple to do on your own. It really is.
That's awesome. So I can just do my research and just go to a state 529 plan and just sign up.
Yeah. And actually on the Saving for College, there's a link to every single plan. You literally can click, and you'll be in the application. It's like opening anything. You need your child's social security number, yours, some bank information, how you're going to fund it, and you're off to the races.
That's great. That's really, really great. It's easy. So, okay, we talked about starting these 529s. Right. We talked about, what to look for, but why do we really invest in, I know we're going to they're invested and they're growing, but what do we use them for? I mean, for real, right?
So the basics that everybody understands, tuition, college tuition. Okay. It can be college, it can be a vocational school, it can be graduate school. It's room and board as long as you're a half-time. So if you're not a half-time student, you can't cover room and board. Tuition and any required fees. So any of those fees, if anybody's seen a kid's tuition statement, kind of painful, there's a lot of fees on there. Anything that's required you have to pay, you can use. Computer, if it's required, you can use it for that. So pretty much all college expenses. There's a few things that have opened up in the last few years, a few new rules. You can now use up to $10,000 for K through 12. So if you pay for a private school, you can use $10,000. Now remember, you're saving for college. So if you use it for K through 12, you have 10,000 less, but that's okay. It's your money to do with it. You can use up to 10,000 to repay a student loan. So say you thought you weren't going to have enough with the 529 and you're trying to figure it out and you took out a loan. Up to 10,000 can be used to repay back a student loan. So that's a kind of a handy little feature. The other little caveat I always tell people, you're supposed to make the withdrawals in the year the expense occurred. I had a client once call me and say, I have all this money in a 529 and my kids graduated and I didn't take the money out. To take it out in the year it's spent. We are all cash-based taxpayers. We are not corporations. The year it goes on your tax return, the year you spend it is the year you take it out. So just a little thing to keep in the back of your mind, I don't know why you would do that, but don't.
They must have been a corporate accountant.
I don't know. We won't get into that. Thankfully, they had other children, which is another really fun feature that we'll bring it to, right? You can change the beneficiary.
Oh,
so
really?
This is why I've had clients say, I don't want to put too much in. What if different things happen? Your child doesn't go to college, right?
Right.
Or your child gets a scholarship. These are all things that being able to change the beneficiary to another family member, which I'll explain in a minute, really make it flexible and you shouldn't worry too much. So if you have other children, you can transfer it to them, no problem.
Awesome.
I transferred it from my daughter to my son. You can, if your child gets a scholarship, this is a little fun fact, you can take that amount out penalty free. So your child gets a $50,000 scholarship, you can take out 50 grand.
You're not penalized for scholarships. That's wonderful.
You do have to pay tax on the gain, but you don't have a penalty.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So that's a nice feature because everybody thinks their kid's brilliant and going to get a scholarship, right?
Sports scholarships in this part of town, right? Everyone's like, it says their kids are going to get sports scholarships.
And family members is super broad. It's siblings, cousins. I have my little cheat sheet, in-laws, aunts and uncles, niece and nephews, yourself. You could take it. If your kids don't use it, you can use it for yourself, your parent, if you're the parent, to go to graduate school or whatever you want to do. So there's a lot of flexibility to move that money around.
Okay. Now I heard, and tell me if this is true, that it could even apply for your kids' kids.
Yeah. Down the line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids. Yep. Descendant. Any descendant of your child. That's a kid, right?
Unless isn't there a Disney movie that's Descendants or something like that too? Not them. Not allowed to get that.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, so very broad.
So that is a pretty amazing way then to build generational wealth because, the max contribution to a 529 is somewhere between like around mid $200,000 to mid
the most you can put in. Well, there's a few ways to do it, but you can put in as a grandparent, you can put in up to what the gift exemption is each year, which is now $17,000. You can put in $17,000 gift tax free. But yeah, you can put in up to over 100,000 eventually. Yeah. So you can pass money down from generation to generation. It's a fabulous way to do it.
And then you can also, from what I understand, is you can also roll off a little bit into generational, retirement plans. I'm jumping ahead. Oh, I'm not allowed to go there yet. I do that. I just get so excited about this stuff.
We can talk about that.
I do. Hey, I have a question. And it is, what's the limit? I think we just talked about that. It used to be 10. Oh, I can actually show this up here. Oh, look at me being all fancy. What's the limit? It used to be 10,000 per child. What is the penalty in case of unused funds?
So if you, I lost my little screen here. So again, we're going to try not to have unused funds, right? Because if you have nobody else to give it to and you want to take it out, it is a 10%. If you don't use it for qualified, you have no way to use it, you don't want to give it to anybody, it's a 10% penalty and you pay income tax on it. So if you put in 10,000 and you left it in there for a bunch of years and it became 30 and you had no place to use it, you just wanted to get it out, you'd pay 10% tax on the 30,000 and you'd pay capital gain tax on the difference between what you put in and what you took out. So that, in my example, $20,000. What did I say? 10 to 30, so $20,000. Yeah.
Okay. And does that answer your question there? Oh, we got another one here. We got another one from Lauren, and Lauren is saying, is this going to be saved to watch back? And yes, this is going to be saved to watch back for sure. We are definitely recording this. So
we are East Coast talkers, so I have to remind myself to slow down.
Do you think I talk too fast? Now I'm like thinking about it now. Hey, what about you guys in the audience? Are we East Coast talkers? Are we like talking about this stuff too fast? That's what I want to know for sure. Oh, she missed the first 15 minutes. Yeah, girl, we got you. We got you. It's all recorded, whether it is Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. And you can also binge watch all the episodes. If you love this one and you want to see other episodes, you can do that as well. Oh, and Lauren says she's an East Coaster too. Okay. So yeah, she totally gets us. She gets us. She gets us for sure. For sure. Okay. So, we've talked a lot about these, but what are like the top 3 things that maybe people don't realize about 529s? I mean, we covered a lot of things, so I'm surprised that you have 3 more things that maybe people don't know about.
Well, one thing that we talked about that you didn't realize, Jessica, is that other people can contribute to your children's 529s.
That is true. I did not realize that. I thought you had to create a separate 529 on that individual.
No.
Okay, so explain that for me.
So the 529, the owners who started it, so it's often the parent. It can be a grandparent, but let's say it's a parent. So, but anybody can add to that. And a lot of the ones that you open up online have these great little things. You can go in and say, send a request to my aunt or my sister. So I did this when my kids started to get older, and my sisters would say, what do your kids want for Christmas or the holidays? And I would send them a link to their 529. I said, make a contribution. So they could send in $50 for my kid as a gift instead of buying them, something that ends up on the floor of the room. They can make a contribution to their 529. And many of the plans have this little seamless way to just send an email. It's awesome.
I love that. Yeah. I really, really, really love that. Yeah. You know how many like silly things that my kids had no interest in because they weren't relatable to them. Like just how many times I wished that money from like that silly toy or that silly book or whatever it was, though it came from a good place, don't get me wrong, not being ungrateful, because it's the thought that counts, right? But I wish that those monies could go towards education. I love that.
That's a great feature. So we definitely took advantage of that. And I tell my clients that too. It's a great idea. The other one that I was going to mention is that you can use it for the student loan, which we mentioned, $10,000 to repay back student loans, which is new. I would say, the other one goes back to figuring out you can use any state. I think people don't realize that you can use any state, and you should look around to be one you're comfortable with.
You should shop it.
Exactly.
Shop it. I really feel that people don't understand how many financial things people can shop. I feel like it's lost on women that, you can shop for a high yield savings account. Yes, you can shop for, once you educate yourself and these in and outs, which is what we're trying to do here, Lisa, right? We're trying to educate women on all of these financial topics. So we also have another question here. Like I'm loving these questions that we're getting. We're getting really great questions. How do you compare funds and figure out which fund is best? That's kind of a loaded one. Do you want to attempt that one, Lisa?
What, you mean the fund inside the 529?
That's what I'm thinking.
So they have to report their performance. They'll usually have 3, 5, and 10 years in there. Again, if you're really not comfortable, if anybody knows what a CFA is, it's a chartered financial analyst. They spend 3 years learning how to do what you just asked, and 3 really, really hard tests. So it's tough to do. All really you could do as a layperson is look at the performance. But again, using those bucket funds that have the target date will help you then from having to pick every single individual mutual fund. And again, Saving for College does a 5-star ranking in multiple categories for every single state fund out there. So there's a ranking on performance, cost, I think like ease of use, and there's probably an overall ranking, and they're stars. So use those, really rely on the experts who do this every day to pick the funds in there and to pick the plan.
Yeah, I think I definitely, and again, like there are people that want to manage it themselves, like my ex-husband, and there's other people that just want to set it and forget it. And the latter, really, I think the benefit of the target date funds and plans are that you can just set and forget it. You don't have to rebalance it yourself.
Yeah. Was there another question? Because I have one other point I was gonna.
Actually, I feel like we covered a lot of them in the beginning of the broadcast. So, Debrashi, thank you so much for your questions. I really appreciate them, but I feel like definitely watch the recording. Some of those questions that you have right now are definitely going to be answered. Actually, there's a really good question from Lauren here, and it says, are there traditional fees associated in investing in 529s?
So if you do an advisor sold fund, there's going to be a management fee on it. And the direct ones will not have that. So what they will just have is the inside expense in the actual mutual fund itself. Those are not easy to find, but the performance numbers are net of those expenses. So if you look to the performance, you will see, how the funds have done. And a lot of low cost funds are in these 529s. You're not going to find, you can find some, but you find a lot of low cost companies that you traditionally hear about that run these. And as long as the performance is okay, the fees are inside there. If it's advisor sold, there's a separate fee.
Oh, okay. Got it. And that's why you were saying that a lot of your clients do go and apply them just straight to the States by themselves.
This is not this is different than, your long-term retirement investing for 50 years. That's going to make or break your retirement. This is a little different. And because there's so many plans out there, it can be managed pretty well on your own.
That's pretty awesome. Okay. So I can't believe we've been talking for a half an hour already. This is awesome.
I want to bring up, Jessica, one quick thing that we didn't discuss. And this is just a side note. People ask a lot, how does this affect financial aid? If you apply for financial aid for your children, like most people do, they fill out what's called the FAFSA. And you'll see whether you can get, financial aid when your kid goes to college. These assets are parent assets if you open it as a parent for your kid, which is good because the FAFSA assess a very small percentage, 5% of parents' assets to be applied towards the child. So don't think I can't do these because it'll really ruin my financial aid. So they are a parent asset, but they're assessed at a very low rate. They're not like a child's account. Like if a child has a bank account, like a regular UTMA, those accounts that you have your name on, it's your kid's account. Those are assessed at a much higher level than a 529.
Oh, I had no idea.
So it's kind of an interesting little thing to keep in mind. So don't worry about that is what I'm going to say.
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
And then I hear that we have new rules, and I really want to make sure we get to those new rules before the end of the show here. So let's go forward. Let's talk about those new rules.
So some of the new rules, like we talked about for the scholarships and the K to 12, but the newest rule is the Roth. So this has been in the news. You can roll your unused 529 to a Roth, and you read the headline and it sounds fabulous. It can be fabulous, but there's like so many tax rules. There's so many little caveats underneath it.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, right? First place, it's not effective to 2024. You can't do it unless the 529 has been open for 15 years. So it's only for really older ones. Maybe you started it when your kid was 5. You cannot roll out any contributions or earnings from the past 5 years. So again, they don't want people to find a backdoor way to get a Roth. So that's what all these rules are about. They want to use old accounts that you've had for a while. The next piece of the caveat to this is the limits. You can only roll out each year as much as what would have been allowed to go into an IRA. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but IRAs have limits. Right now, the limit for 2023 is $6,500. Another $1,000 if you're over 50. But let's just say $6,500. So you can only roll out $6,500. The second cap is overall, you can only roll out $35,000. So if you put $100,000 in a 529 for this one, and it became $100,000 for your one child, they decided they wanted to do something completely different. You have $100,000. You can only roll $35,000 out in increments of $6,500 per year to that beneficiary. You can't Go ahead.
Can you do multiple beneficiaries though? Like you could spin off.
You have to open what you can do. Open another 529 with a different beneficiary, roll some of that into that other beneficiary, right? And then that beneficiary can get 35,000. Yes, you can do it, but it's just not, snap of the fingers. You got to follow the rules.
Oh, come on, Lisa.
And the other really weird caveat is that to do an IRA contribution, you have to have income, earned income.
Oh.
Right? So you have to have earned income. That's the rule. So if you're going to put money into a beneficiary's Roth, they have to have that earned income.
Oh, interesting.
So you may have to wait till that student is working and has income to do it. So it gets a little tricky.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's really, really interesting. Oh my goodness. I love all these thoughts. My mind is just like swirling.
Right. And there's ways to get it out. Again, it gives you another avenue to not be concerned about putting money into a 529 because it's another way to move some money out.
That's really fantastic. And I love the idea, and I talk a lot about this in my, talking about investing with your teens. And I love bringing teens and kids into this conversation. For all intents and purposes, it is their money for their college, right?
Yes.
So you can bring them into the conversation about what their 529 is invested in.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have any tips on how to talk about, the 529 with their kids?
I talk to my kids a lot about money, and 2 of the 3 of them love it. But, the number one thing, you said it right there, is just to talk to them about it. Yeah. Because, money was a taboo for so long. Yeah. And as a result, you end up with adults that are not financially literate. So anything you can bring up is useful. Explain to them that you've been saving for X amount of years. You've been doing it systematically. And now that money that you put in, that 10,000 you put in, is now worth, let's say, 40,000. And that in and of itself tells you about the power of compounding and the power of investing. So now you have $40,000, and now you're going to start using that to pay for some of their college. It also very nicely transitions into, if you don't have enough to pay for them, how are we going to make up the difference? Are they going to have some loans? Are you going to have some loans? And that really brings the whole conversation, into having some skin in the game if they're going to college, and they're going to be part of that decision and part of the money that's spent. So yeah, I just start talking. Anywhere you start is good.
And I'm sure, Lisa, you probably have conversations like I do with my kids. And again, and it's funny because 2 of my 3 are really interested about investing. But what I do is I actually listen to Bloomberg radio in the car when they're stuck in there with me. They're on their phones and we're listening. And I'll be like, did you hear that? Do you know what that related to? And I'll talk about economics and how this affects this. And they're like, Mom, please stop. But let me tell you, they do pick it up. They do. They might roll their eyes, but really in the background, they're like, my mom's pretty cool that she's talking about this with me.
So my youngest son called me about a month ago, and I knew that he was going to save a little bit and put some of his savings from all his earnings into a brokerage account. His older brother did it. He saw him do it. But he called me and said, no, I'm going to do a Roth IRA with mine, Mom. I was like, really? So, his older brother did a regular account, but he did a Roth IRA. So my 18-year-old opened his Roth IRA. I was very proud of him.
Okay. Now I'm curious, is he managing it himself, or is he having someone else manage it for him?
Well, he and I are doing it together.
Of course.
It is not professionally managed. No, I didn't send him to my money managers. It's $1,000, but we discussed what to do with it. And I can share if you want.
Hey, I actually have one more question here is, I'm not sure I'm understanding this question though.
We can read it. I'm going to read it aloud and see if it.
Okay. So do you need to be eligible for Roth to be able to roll it over?
No, it's a good question. So what the question is, able to do a Roth, you have to have an income below a certain level. They waive that income hurdle to do a rollover from a 529 to a Roth. It was a great question.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. But they go on to say, like, if your employer offers a 401k and you have a certain income level, you are not eligible for the Roth IRA. Does this Roth eligibility exist for 529 rollover too?
No, no. So to do a Roth IRA now, once your income as a couple exceeds 228,000, if you're single, if it exceeds 153,000, you cannot do a Roth contribution, a Roth IRA contribution. That's the rule. So, but that rule does not apply for rolling from a 529 to a Roth. They have specifically excluded that rule in the regulations.
So that was a good question.
Great question.
That was a great question.
Really
yeah.
Good question. Yep. And that's I only learned that recently because these are new rules, because they come out with the rules and then everybody has 100 questions because Congress doesn't clarify it. And then this is one of the things they clarified.
Well, I'm so glad you are here, Lisa, to clarify it for us. And with that, we have run out of time. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you, Lisa?
So the easiest is to go to our website, or I think that's probably the easiest. Our company is BPP. It stands for Build, Protect, Preserve. That's the B, the PP, Wealth Solutions is our company name. We have a website. We have contact information on there. I mean, I can give out my email too. So if you guys can see my picture, you can see how to spell my last name. So my email is L for Lisa and then Crosta at bppwealth.com.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
It's great.
And there's just so many topics I want to talk to you about.
I know. I think we should make it, we'll do a monthly answer your questions and we'll pick a topic.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And again, like I said in the beginning of the show, if you have topics that you would like us to cover, definitely message it into HerFinIQ, and that's at HerFinIQ on all social media handles. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Jessica.
See ya.
Bye.
So wasn't Lisa amazing? Oh my gosh. We have so many wonderful and strong and smart females in our communities. And that's my goal here, is to reach out to those women, showcase them, and also make finance approachable to other women. And I feel like a couple men out there too. More power to them. No problem, for sure. Thank you for coming too. As a lot of you know, I like to end my show with a little bit of inspiration. And today's quote of the day is from Benjamin Franklin. It is, "An investment in education always pays the highest return." Let me repeat that for you. An investment in education always pays the highest returns. And in the case of the show, an investment in a 529 or, a college savings plan can pay high returns as well. And I also wanted to echo the concept of educating yourself on financial concepts. And I'm so proud of all of you that are here today, investing your time to learn more about ways to invest and also the language of finance. You may be overwhelmed. You may feel apprehensive about learning the language of money, finance, and investing, but it's baby steps. You can do it. You are doing it by just being here today. I am just so amazed at the community we are building here at HerFinIQ of women committed to financial health, growth, and freedom. The next show will be April 13th, so mark your calendar and keep an eye out for our next guest. And should you wish to take your money and investing journey outside the show, check out my personal finance and investing classes at HerFinIQ.com. Sign up for my mailing list to be notified of upcoming shows, interviews, panels, workshops, and of course, follow on all social media. I'm Jessica Perrone, founder of HerFinIQ. You have been watching the Her Money and Investing Show. Together, learning to build wealth. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Tell your friends. Bye. Have a great day.